Hello, my name is Marr Brown, and I'm here at the Innovation Economy Expo at the Ontario Convention Center. And my guest today is Ruth Lopez Novodor. She is the CEO of Beverly Oncology and Imaging Medical Group. And Ruth, it's a pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Well, I heard you on the podium earlier. You're one of the panelists, and there are some things that really caught my attention about how your company formed and your background. Can you talk a little bit about that?
When we put in the first radiation therapy facility, we put it above ground.
Okay.
Most radiation therapy facilities were underground in those days. They were in the basement of a hospital, and radiation therapy was kind of the last recourse.
Okay.
Surgery would happen first because the patients would go in for surgery, and in those days cancer wasn't found early, so it was metastasized. So you'd go have the cancer cut out, and then you would go to a chemo doctor, a medical oncologist we call them, and you would get a lot of chemotherapy. Today it pretty much is the same gateway. The distinction is that for early tumors that are really small and not metastasized, we can treat them a lot more efficiently, directly, sometimes without surgery. So the specialty for small tumors includes brachytherapy, which only puts the radioactive seeds in the cancer tumor to the size of the cancer tumor. And what's very popular now, IMRT, we were the first to install intensity modulated radiation therapy outside of an academic center, and it was put in Montebello.
Okay, right.
So we've had a lot of patients that would come to us from other parts of the state saying, why do we have to come to Montebello to get this advanced treatment? But most of that is because of the incentive to be able to say yes. And the incentive to be able to deliver something that otherwise would not be available to that community. And that's kind of been our drive, is to produce the best outcomes for our patients that come to Beverly Oncology.
That's great. That's a great story. I want to talk about how you joined your brother. You mentioned he was sort of the one that went to school and pioneering everything, and I know that you're the CEO of the group.
That's correct.
Which is a business mind.
That's correct.
So how did the two of you get together and collaborate?
Well, this is a kind of a different story. It was a story where a doctor came out of med school when I came out of business school. I went on to work for Tran Telecommunications, and I was promoted to administrator of market forecasting not long after I was hired. It was almost immediate. And I was asked to move outside of the country so that I could run a division in Canada. I turned that down, but right about that time he called me and said, you know what? The building contractors went bankrupt and I've got to finish the building. He says, I've got all these bills I've got to pay and I don't know what to do. I said, well, I'll come over temporary and help you with the books, because my business major was an emphasis in accounting and finance. So when I came over, I set up he had no books. He had a box with a bunch of bills. And so I, of course I came in and wanted to show him a thing or two about business, and that he had to, take care of his agings and so on and so forth. And I started making calls to people and telling them how we were going to pay them off. At the same time, the building was going into foreclosure, and I did my first major commercial real estate loan that I had ever done at 21. And ignorance is bliss, 25%, I didn't know the difference. But within 5 years we paid it off.
That's good.
And the rest is history. We've since expanded to 7 centers in the Los Angeles San Gabriel Valley Center. We do specialize in low to moderate income communities. And we love that market because there are people that really need the care, and we have innovative ways of taking care of them.
To have a center in the Montebello area, and you're saying it's one that was innovative and different, that people would come to, what was the vision behind that? I mean, and I want to have you maybe talk about that initial vision, and then now you're at 7 centers, and I also know that I read your bio, and there's an international focus as well.
That's correct.
For your group. So talk to me about the initial vision, how it's grown, and then what is the long-term plan for the
organization? Well, the initial vision was to bring these services, the high-tech services, state-of-the-art services, to our community. That was the vision initially. And the passion that drove it was the response that we received. We were told we would not survive in that community. And we were told patients are not compliant and that we would never make it. I want you to know today we have a 98 to 99% compliance ratio.
Wow, that's incredible.
And we have grown from 25% patients for cure to 75% treatment for cure.
Wow.
Now, a lot of this has to do with the advancement in technology, but the compliance issue was big because it's not like going to the doctor for a cold and it's one visit. These are 28 consecutive visits for radiation. It's painless, it's easy, it's maybe 15 minutes on the table and 15 minutes to dress or undress, but there's no pain in it, no discomfort, and but you have to come 28 times. So that is a resource. Time and transportation are a resource. So very early on, we decided that it's really better for us to facilitate the transportation and ensure the delivery. And we find a tremendous success rate.
Two of the themes of this meeting are around collaboration and communication. And what I'm hearing from what you just said is that your organization fosters both. The collaboration piece is everyone working together behind a common vision, and the communication piece seems like it's at a very high level. And I think that also, I would imagine, helps to contribute to patient compliance. When patients walk away, they understand what is being communicated, they're probably going to be a lot more compliant than if they don't.
And a key to that communication is the L word.
Okay, what is that?
Ready to listen, listening. Our employees that are dealing with the patients firsthand, they tell me things I would have never known. They are able to articulate what we need to serve those patients. And so there's a lot of listening going on, both ways. And when I listen to someone in my staff, and then I have something that I want to accomplish also, we can work together to resolve that. So there's a mutual respect for each other's insight and understanding that there's a lot broader possibility when I'm able to listen and not be a dictator, if you will, in the organization. And that's really what's brought us a lot of the wins, the positive outcomes that we have with patients, because we actually will design processes with the staff.
That's great.
And they walk through the whole process with us. We do what we call closed loop analysis. How do you get from point A to point Z? And how do we do it in the most efficient manner?
When I first met you, I was, we were talking about the interview and I was asking you questions, and what really impressed me was you asked me as many questions about myself as I asked you about you. And I've met with many CEOs and many directors and many leaders of organizations, and I would agree, the ones that listen and really, show that they want to learn from their people and they're involved in the process, tend to be the most successful. So it's great to hear, to meet with you and to speak with you about what you're doing. I'm not surprised by all the success of the organization and the hundreds, if not thousands of patients that have benefited from your approach to taking care of such a difficult disease to manage.
Yes, and over these years, I just thank God that we're at the point now where we can treat more for cure at 75% than we did 33 years ago.
Ruth, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you. And, this is Marr Brown once again with Successful Physicians Monthly, and I want to thank Ruth again for being with us, and I hope that everyone learned a lot from our discussion. Thank you very much.